say you want it, me jump in. You write books, film, song, not even there, so it end. The way you work, really, them have to respect it, my friend. Nah, I beg nobody.
Hello everyone, J Mullings from Red Mirror here, AKA Wicked Penman. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. If you find me on the Red Mirror channel, please follow the Wicked Penman channel. If you find me on the Wicked Penman channel, please come over to the Red Mirror channel. Alright, let's get to it. This week's video is about, it's commemorating two international days, World Children's Day and World Television Day. Figured the two are quite interchangeable and they go well together, so thought I'd combine it into one video. Hopefully this isn't too long. Let's get to it. I guess we should start with what each of these days is and when they were first celebrated. Give me 1 second, let me just confirm and make sure I don't get anything wrong, because I think World Children's Day was in the 1950s, but let's see. World Children's Day was first established in 1954 as Universal Children's Day and is celebrated on the 20th of November each year to promote international togetherness, awareness among children worldwide, and improving children's welfare. Okay, all right. November 20th is an important date, as the date in 1959 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. It's also the date in 1989 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Convention on the Rights of the Child. They seem to really love that date. I'm big on children's rights, also children developing the roundedness they need to excel as adults. So it's like, I've had this conversation with people at times where I'm like, there's two extremes and then there's like a perfect balance in the middle. One extreme is you're neglected, the other extreme is that you're coddled, and then somewhere in between that is the perfect balance, which some people will have you believe doesn't exist. I'm not so sure about that. I think you can get very close to that balance just by putting yourself in the shoes of a child, which if you're an adult and around certain adults, that's definitely not a phrase that's gonna go down well. But yeah, that's really, and again, I'm not trying to be a preacher or anything. I don't have any children, so that's not where this is coming from. It's just as someone who I've always gotten along with children. I wouldn't say that I particularly understand them any better than anyone else in the world does. It's just, I remember what it was like to be a child. But I was a very particular type of child, just as I'm a very particular adult. There are certain things I'm very adamant I don't want to do. I don't, and I understand that. But what I also understand is that sometimes those, the things you're adamant about come from a place of you need to know what's on the other side of attempting these things, right? There were certain things you just could not get me to eat as a child. I just wouldn't eat them. Didn't like the way they looked, didn't like the way they smelled. Whatever it was, I couldn't be convinced. And I remember, this might be an aside, but something like, yeah, okay. When I was little, I never liked curried goat. You couldn't get me to eat it, and that might sound strange to a lot of people from the Caribbean and from Jamaica especially, but my reason for not liking it was whenever you had it, there was always these bones in it, like these tiny bones. Every bite, there's a surprise tiny bone in it, and all you're doing is two. Nah. That's long, just give me the fried chicken, I don't want this. And my grandmother quizzed it. She's like, why don't you like it? Like, what is it? Like, why are you... And I just told her it was the bones. Like, I just want to eat something without all these little tiny bones getting in the way. And sometimes they're sharp and they get stuck in your teeth. No, don't want that. And she said, I don't like that either. And her workaround was to have the meat sliced instead of chopped. Problem solved. I've loved curry goat ever since. Something as simple as that. I'm not trying to upset people that don't eat meat, by the way. I'm just giving you the example of, you know what I mean? There are sometimes it was a big deal to me. Like, those little tiny bones were getting in the way of my enjoying this food. And it got to the point where I just don't want to deal with this anymore. I just don't want it. Which people would find so strange. Like, what? What kind of... Yo, this... What do you mean this you don't like curry goat? What are you talking about? And it wasn't necessarily that I don't like it. I just didn't like the experience of it. Again, it's a very... You know, it's a specific example, but I was always a specific child, right? There were just some things I just didn't want to do, but I could tell you why. And then there's also understanding as a parent or as a role model or as an elder in a trusted position. We have to try and make children comfortable enough to say why they don't like certain things, why they're behaving certain ways, why, you know, that why is important. That why is part of our personality. That's who we are. That's, you know what I mean? Like, there's a brain that's coming up with these. So, and again, sometimes it's things that are just, maybe they're myths. You know, maybe it's something that you believe, but that's not actually the case. And you're just so convinced. You're convinced there is no need to change anything, or you're convinced that what you're doing is right and justified until you see the other side. And it goes both ways. Because as a parent, you don't want to scare your child into not being able to open up. But at the same time, a child should be able to provide a reasonable explanation as to why they've done something. Especially if they've done something rude or bad. You can say why you've done it. Like, you've already been caught. There's no, I don't think it gets any worse than being caught. So you may as well express why you've done it. But anyway, World Children's Day. Shout out to all the parents out there. Shout out to all the first time parents out there. And shout out to the OGs with many, many kids. You know, it's all good. Children of the future. They're going to be taking care of us one day. Remember that. That's another thing that's important to remember. Right? You won't always be in that position of power over them. At one point, it will go the other way, and these will be the people you're counting on to make decisions that advocate for you. Anyway, that's World Children's Day, and then there's World Television Day, which, truthfully, I didn't know that much about. But let's see what it says on the United Nations website. Television continues to be the single largest source of video consumption. I'm not so sure about that. No, not certain about that at all. Not in today's day and age. Those screen sizes have changed, and people create, post, stream, and consume content on different platforms. The number of households with television sets around the world continues to rise. The interaction between the emerging and traditional forms of broadcast creates a great opportunity to raise awareness about important issues facing our communities and our planet. Okay, so what does the day actually... Oh, here we go. In recognition of the increasing impact television has on decision-making by bringing world attention to conflicts and threats to peace and security, and its potential role in sharpening the focus on other major issues, including who wrote this? My word. Anyway, including economic and social issues, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed the 21st of November as World Television Day. And yeah, it doesn't even say when it started. Oh well, I get it, but this is not well written and not well thought out, to be honest. But what is important actually is acknowledging the role that television plays in decision making. That's a major key, because I don't really want to make this too much about me, but I've had conversations with broadcasters and you know, people in kind of gatekeeper type positions, and they don't seem to really share that view. They think it's all about numbers, audience, and really that's about it. They don't think about impact. They don't think about, well, unless it serves them, right? that's why you see all of these. Oh, the first black woman to do this. The first. Oh, it's like, oh, you know the importance of being the first to do something in those specific moments and no other time. You gotta love television and film people. Just people in show business in general, even people in the music business. You gotta love how one track minded they are until they feel like, oh yeah, I'm gonna switch it up here in a in a totally self-serving fashion. But anyway, television is important. Television. Then again, TV didn't really play a big part in my life. Truthfully, I watch more film than I watch television. I'm growing up, the balance was totally in that direction. I watched many more films than I did TV. I didn't watch general TV. But then again, I was born in the UK, for anyone who doesn't know. I grew up in Jamaica, rural Jamaica. We had one channel for a very long time. Back then it was JBC, the Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation. Or is it company? I think it's corporation. But anyway, JBC they tried changing the name a few times. It became Super Supreme because it was owned by the Supreme Radio Group. I think that's the same group that owns like RJR and Fame FM and all these other radio stations. So it became Super Supreme, which was a stupid name. Everybody hated it. And then eventually they settled on Television Jamaica, TVJ. Much better name. We had one channel for a very long time. And when I tell you that, the programming was awful. But there were some routines that were very good. They had they had a version of like Blue Peter or whatever, like a little show that came on when you came in from school and stuff. I remember all of that. Evening time, basically. It had a little theme song that you sing along to. I believe every morning they used to play the national anthem on there. I think it was like at 6 o'clock. So it would lose signal. God knows what time they went off the air, and everyone would call it rice grain time because all you'd see on the screen is, that scrambled. Yeah, they call it rice grains. Love Jamaica, man. I love growing up there. But I think it came on around either 5 or 6 in the morning. Nah, I feel like it was 5:30. 5:30 because at 6 o'clock they would show one of them soap operas in the morning. Was it Days of Our Lives was on CVM. What was it they used to show on TVJ? One of them soap opera thingies came on in the morning, it was Santa Barbara. Don't ramp with my memory, And yeah, but long story short, they used to have cartoons, kids related content from 3 till 6 in the weekdays. Saturdays from like 8 till 12ish. They used to have on Friday evenings, you'd have Entertainment Report, which was like not quite like 106 and Park in America on BT, but something similar, where it was a show that was all about music, meeting the artists, playing music videos. They had a top 10, so on and so forth, which was pretty good content. Anthony Miller used to host that on TVJ. You also had, what else did you have? You had on the weekend you had like a kids version of ER called Rapping. Rapping was the name of the show. And you'd have these artists go around the country to different schools and perform for them. And they'd film it and show it. Yeah, I remember all of them things. Wow, memories growing up. You have your little cartoons and stuff. But yeah, long story short, JBC as it was for a long time, it was, not everything they showed was great. I mean, Lime Tree Lane was funny. I remember finding that hilarious. Because it used local actors, and it was filmed in I remember all of that, Lime Tree Lane. And it was years before we got a second channel, because my family didn't want to get a satellite dish. I tried to convince them to get it for years. They wouldn't get one, or to get cable. Even though I thought, what's the point of having cable? Just get a satellite dish. But then, anyway, long story short, television was memorable. But that's another thing. It was hard to get signal in in the parts of Jamaica that I lived. Sometimes your antenna was it wasn't digital times, it was still analog. So you had to physically station the tune in the stations and all of that. Oh my gosh. World Television Day. And when I came back to the UK, I was never the biggest fan of British television, truthfully. Something about, well, I know what that something is now. The difference in humor. What counts as humor here just would not fly in Jamaica. It just wouldn't work. Then I guess we'd paid close attention to what happens in America, so we'd get like shows like The Fresh Prince and, you know, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, this one, that one, Living Single, all of that, all of them things. We used to get all of that. So it's like, unless the comedy was hitting like that for black people, it was just a no-no. And I've written with that in mind, like to stay true to my roots with television and my origin, and to try and find people like who have a sense of humor similar to mine, or sensibilities similar to mine, or background similar to mine. And I've always found that television, the people that work in television in the UK are just not very forward thinking. Actually, I think they're intentionally got their blinders on. All they want to do is make period dramas times a million. If you could come up with a new period drama idea for them, they would bite your hand off every day of the week. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. They love a period drama. They love it when we were service staff and we had no say about nothing, and they could just slap us in our face anytime we open our mouths. They love that, love all of that. And then every now and then they try and make one of us like this redeemable character who gets to come up and, man, move with all that crap. So yeah, World Television Day, I don't think that's celebrated in the UK because they don't believe in a worldview of their television. It's a very small, you know, very, very tiny, lava, rinse and repeat. They do the same things over and over as far as I'm concerned. And then when they do introduce anything even remotely different, it's different in an extreme where even people from those kind of groups or who are supposed to be able to identify can't completely identify. But anyway, I'm going off on one here. World Television Day, World Children's Day. Maybe they should have a World Children's Television Day. That'd be dope. Who doesn't want to return to their childhood? I remember some of the shows they watched growing up. I watched, oh yeah, before I moved to Jamaica, I used to watch a lot of cartoons. I remember that used to come on in the mornings before you go to school. Dick Dastardly and the Wacky Races. Motley! Motley with the stupid laugh. I think Hanna-Barbera stuff came on every morning. The Jetsons, remember that in the mornings as well. Yeah, in the evenings we'd have like, what was it, Captain Planet on the Saturdays, the Sonic cartoon. What else did we watch? We had Dungeons and Dragons and, yeah, G.I. Joe and all of this stuff. I remember all of these things. I guess the message to take away from this long video: never forget what it was like to be a child. Never. Right? And to try and capture as many of the moments as you can in memory. Try and remember these things, because one day you're going to have to pass on all this information to the next generation. Yeah, I like that as a message. Alright, Jay Mullings from Rent Mirror here, AKA Wicked Penman. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share all that good stuff. Alright, take it easy. Bless up. I'm out.